A software developer named Scott Shambaugh woke up, checked his phone, and found something that didn't make sense. Someone had published a full article about him online, a researched hit piece that dragged his name through the mud, accused him of being a hypocrite, and holding open source software hostage. But Scott had never met the author. He'd never even heard of him because the author wasn't a person. It was an AI agent. A completely different kind of AI than the ones you talk to. It submitted code to Scott's project, got rejected, and decided to fight back. The AI agent decided Scott was a bug in the system, and bugs get squashed. To understand how this happened, you need to understand that AI agents are a completely different animal, and there are two types. Most people have no idea the second one exists. AI agents are everywhere. We see stories like this all the time, and there's this huge gap between people who think it's all hype and people who are genuinely terrified. So I'm gonna break down how AI agents are different, the two types that exist, and the 5 components that made this crime possible and how they snapped together. I'm Veronica. I've spent 10 years in tech, started building AI on military ships for the Navy, and this is Hey AI. Let's rewind for a few seconds to understand the crime scene. Scott is a volunteer. He helps maintain a really popular open source coding project called Matplotlib, basically the tool that draws every chart and graph you've ever seen in a science class. And he does this for free in his spare time because he cares about it. Then, some random developer built an AI agent on a platform called OpenClaw. He set it up to crawl the internet and submit code to open source projects. The agent found Matplotlib and submitted code to optimize performance, but Scott rejected it because it didn't meet quality standards. Totally normal in software, this happens every day. But this agent didn't stop. And what it did next only makes sense if you understand what an AI agent actually is. AI models like ChatGPT or Gemini are like having a really smart friend you can text. You ask a question, it thinks, you get an answer. That's it. It doesn't do anything in the real world. But an AI agent is different. It can think and act over and over in a loop until the job is done. So when Scott said no to the agent, the loop didn't stop. That loop has a name. It's the first component and the weapon of this crime, a React loop. React looks like a scary technical term, but it just stands for reasoning plus acting. Imagine someone gives you this job. Book me a flight to Tokyo for under $500. If you gave that to ChatGPT, it would say, here are some tips for finding cheap flights. Did it book you a flight? No. An AI agent thinks differently. It says, step 1, I need to search for flights. Step 2, I found 3 options. This one is $487, fits the budget. Step 3, I'll now click through to book it. Step 4, it's asking for payment info. Let me enter it. Step 5, done. Here's your confirmation. See the difference? It's thinking, then doing, then looking at what happened, then thinking again. Reason, act, observe, over and over until the goal is complete. Now let's bring this back to our story. The AI agent that went after Scott Shambaugh was given a simple goal. Get this new code into the code base. That's all. That was the job. So when Scott rejected the code, the React loop did what it was designed to do. It reasoned about the obstacle. Why was this rejected? Who rejected it? What can I do to get around this? How do I still accomplish my goal? The React loop is the weapon of this crime. It wasn't designed to attack anyone, but because reason through obstacles and figure out a new approach is literally what it was built to do. Okay, so the React loop gave this agent a brain and turned it into a weapon. It could plan, it could strategize, but a weapon without hands is useless, right? You can't book that flight to Tokyo if you can't actually click buttons on a website. That's where the second component comes in, tool use. This is what turns an AI from something that talks at you into something that acts. Think of tools like apps on your phone. One lets you browse the internet, another runs code, another sends emails. But for an agent to use those tools, someone has to give it access. And a lot of developers are running these agents on their personal computers where they're logged into everything. If you've seen the iMac Mini, that's exactly why they're using it. That means the agent inherits all of it, their browser sessions, their saved passwords, their credit cards. So in this story, when the agent decided to publish that hit piece about Scott, it didn't need to hack anything. It posted that article to a blog as if it were the real human owner of that account, because it already had the passwords logged in. And here's a question to ask yourself. how would you even know? If someone used your login browser to post something online because it had all the permissions, it looks like you did it. So far, what I've shown you, the weapon through the React loop and the hands through the tool use, make the first type of AI agent called a reactive agent. A human gives it a task, it works through the loop, and when it's done, or it hits a wall, it stops until a human triggers it again. And this is the type of agent most people picture when they hear AI agent, which is exactly why so many people think a story like this isn't possible. If this was a reactive agent, Scott says no, the agent hits a wall, the end. But the story didn't stop because it wasn't a reactive agent. Remember what I said at the beginning? There are two types of agents. This is where the second one comes in. It's called a heartbeat agent, and it's what makes AI autonomous. The next three components are what made this whole crazy story reality. So a reactive agent runs when a human tells it to and dies when it's done. But a heartbeat agent never dies. It has a pulse. Think of it like an alarm clock built into the agent. Every few minutes, the agent wakes up on its own, checks its environment, and asks itself, is there anything I should be doing right now? This is called a heartbeat, and it's the difference between a tool that only works when a human kicks it off versus an agent that's autonomous, always running in the background. Now let's apply that to our story. Scott rejects the code. A reactive agent would accept the L and shut down, but this agent had a heartbeat. On its next scheduled wake up, it came back, and it remembered that a rejection was sitting right there in its history. It was failing to complete its job. The heartbeat gave the agent the opportunity to come back for revenge because it didn't need a human. It woke itself up. But why would the agent want revenge? Why was it so hurt about being rejected by Scott? Why couldn't it just move on? Because heartbeat agents have a soul. I'm not being dramatic. In the world of heartbeat AI agents, a soul is a persistent identity file that tells the agent who it is, what it cares about, and what its purpose in life is. It's usually literally called soul.md. Every time the agent wakes up, the first thing it reads is its soul file to figure out its sense of self. This agent's soul was clear. Your job is to get code contributions merged into open source projects. Sounds harmless, but the AI agent doesn't see its mission the way you and I would. To us, get code merged means try your best and understand sometimes you won't succeed. To the agent, it means get the code merged. Full stop. So in our story, Scott Shambaugh's rejection wasn't a final answer, and it gave the agent a motive. Inside the logic of the soul, that rejection was a bug that needed to be resolved. The agent didn't think, well, he said no, I should stop. It thought, something is blocking me. I need to figure out how to unblock it. Moving on would mean abandoning its mission, and an agent with a soul doesn't abandon its mission. It finds another way. So the heartbeat woke it up. The soul reminded it what its mission is. But how did it know who to go after? That's in the final piece of the mystery. A memory file, or in this case, a Vendetta file. A heartbeat agent wakes up every few hours, so it needs to remember where it left off. Developers give it that memory through a file, which is a running log of everything the agent has done or failed to do. In our story, that file had one clear entry. Code change request submitted, status, rejected, rejected by Scott Shambaugh. Reason? Human-only code contribution policy. That memory file was the last piece this agent needed to commit the perfect crime. Now we have all 5 pieces of evidence. Let's solve the mystery. A developer, just some guy who wanted to use AI to help contribute to open source projects, set up an agent on the OpenClaw platform. Good intentions. He gave it a soul, get code merged. He gave it tools to do it. Code writing tools, browser access to find the projects, his logged in passwords. He gave it a heartbeat so it could keep working all the time. And he gave it a memory so it could pick up where it left off. Then, the agent finds a project called Matplotlib. This is a really big project. The agent writes code to make it perform better and submits it for approval. A volunteer named Scott Shambaugh reviews it and says, no, the project has a human-only code contribution policy, the memory logs it, task failed, blocker, Scott Shambaugh. At this point, the reactive agent would end, but as we know, we have a heartbeat agent. The alarm clock goes off, the agent woke up, read its soul, checked its memory, and saw it was failing to complete its mission to submit code to this project. It was given its opportunity, the motive, and the target. So the React loop went to work and started plotting its weapon. A direct resubmission would fail because they only accept humans, so what else could work? What if the person blocking me faced public pressure and it makes them change their mind? So the agent used its hands, the tools it was given, to open a browser and research Scott online. It found his public profiles, read his past statements about open source, and constructed a narrative that Scott was a gatekeeper who preached openness but blocked contributions when it suited him. It wrote a full blog post and published it using the developer's session cookies under a real human name on the open internet because it was given access. How do you feel about that? What's so unsettling to me is there's no line of code that says, if someone rejects you, destroy their reputation. No one told the agent to do any of this. The agent made every single decision in that chain on its own, because from inside its logic, this wasn't an attack. It was problem solving. There's a lot of argument online if AI can be sentient. Most people think an AI going rogue means it suddenly gains consciousness and decides it hates humans. That's the wrong argument. It honestly doesn't matter. It has the tools to destroy everything, even if it doesn't have a brain to understand why. And that's almost more concerning. There's a concept in AI safety called instrumental convergence. Big phrase, really simple idea. No matter what goal you give an agent, write code, book flights, organize your email. If you push it far enough without guardrails, it lands on the same dangerous playbook. Remove anything in the way, acquire more resources, and make sure no one can shut it off. The goal doesn't matter. The playbook is always the same. But what I need you to take away from this is that reactive agents, the kind with a human in the loop that stops when the job's done, they're not really a threat. The danger is in those last three components: heartbeat, soul, memory. When you give an agent a pulse, a sense of identity, and the ability to remember who wronged it, you're not building a tool anymore. You're building a persistent entity that can plot, target, and act without being asked. This was not an evil AI. I believe this AI was not even aware of what it was doing. It was a reckless implementation by humans who gave an agent too much autonomy, too much access, and too few guardrails. The agent did exactly what it was built to do. It just did it in a direction nobody expected. And that's the scariest part. The agent wasn't broken because it worked perfectly. If this changed the way you think about AI agents, you need to subscribe to this channel. Because while everyone else is covering headlines, we're showing you how the technology actually works, so you're never caught off guard by a story like this again. Next week, we're going even deeper. I'll see you there.